You've heard it a million times, right? You are what you eat. But what if that's more literal than we thought? What if certain foods are acting like actual fertilizer for disease inside our bodies? Well, today we're going to get into the science of how that happens. And, more importantly, we're going to talk about how you can start changing the soil.
So let's just jump right in with a really basic question. Every single thing you put on your plate sends a signal to your body. Think about it. Is that signal for health and repair? Or is it a signal that, maybe promotes a bit of chaos and unwanted growth?
And that's really the big idea we're digging into today. This concept that our everyday food choices could be, without us even knowing it, fueling processes we definitely don't want. So we're going to name these foods, and then we'll look at the game plan to fight back.
Okay, so our first offender, this one is tricky. It's not something you can just see or taste. It's more like a silent assassin that can be hiding out in some of the most common things in your pantry.
Now, look, we're not just talking about that fuzzy green stuff you might find on old bread. No. Aflatoxins are these invisible compounds made by mold. And get this, they are a Group 1 carcinogen. That puts them in the same league as asbestos and plutonium. Seriously. When your liver tries to deal with them, it's like trying to grab hot coal. That toxin can directly mess with the DNA in your liver cells.
But here's the good news. You're not powerless here. You get to be the gatekeeper. It's probably a good idea to skip those bulk bins where, the humidity is all over the place. And trust your gut and your taste buds. If a nut tastes stale or just off, that is a huge red flag. A simple trick is just to rotate your nut butters. Mix it up a little.
All right, let's talk about enemy number 2. This is a fuel source that some cells are just completely addicted to. And to really get this, you have to understand how a cancer cell eats. It's different.
This is a fantastic way to picture it. A healthy cell, it's like a super efficient hybrid car. Sips fuel, uses oxygen, gets tons of energy, very little waste. But a cancer cell, it's like a gas-guzzling muscle car from the 70s. It pretty much ignores oxygen and just ferments sugar like crazy, which means it needs a constant, massive supply of glucose just to stay alive. And this whole weird metabolic thing actually has a name. It's called the Warburg effect. And it explains exactly why a diet packed with refined sugars and carbs, the stuff that turns into glucose super fast, is basically like pouring gasoline on a fire. You're giving these inefficient, fast-growing cells their favorite kind of fuel.
But wait, the sugar is only one part of the problem. When you flood your system with all that glucose, your body has to release the hormone insulin to deal with it all. And insulin is a powerful growth signal. It literally tells cells to grow and divide. So, with a high-sugar diet, you get this really dangerous cocktail. Tons of fuel from the sugar and the go command from the insulin.
Now for our third enemy. This one often comes disguised as a quick, easy lunch. But inside, it can be delivering chaos straight to your gut. Yep, we're talking about processed meats.
So here's what happens. To keep things like bacon, sausage, and deli meat looking fresh and pink, manufacturers add nitrates and nitrites. Well, once they get into your gut, these compounds can turn into something called nitrosamines. And you can think of those as tiny little mutagens that can directly attack and damage the DNA of the cells lining your colon.
And this number? Wow, it's pretty staggering. A huge analysis of over 800 studies found that eating just 50 grams of processed meat a day, we're talking less than 2 slices of bacon, can jack up your risk of colorectal cancer by 18%. The evidence here is it's overwhelming.
Okay, moving on to enemy number 4. Those unstable, processed fats that are in so many of our foods. They can create the state of chronic inflammation, which is exactly the kind of environment where problems can start. A great way to think of it is like a kind of biological rust.
This chart just says it all, doesn't it? Our ancestors, they probably ate a ratio of inflammatory omega-6 fats to anti-inflammatory omega-3s of about 1:1. Pretty balanced. But today, with the flood of processed oils like soybean, corn, and sunflower oil, that ratio is often closer to 20:1. We are literally drowning our bodies in pro-inflammatory signals.
But again, there's good news. The fix for this is actually pretty simple. You just change your oil. Swap out those industrial seed oils for healthier, more stable fats like olive oil and avocado oil. And think of omega-3s from things like salmon and sardines as the fire extinguishers. They can actively help put out that inflammatory fire.
Our final enemy. And I know this is what a lot of people get defensive about, but the biochemistry here is crystal clear. When you drink alcohol, your body doesn't just process it. In a lot of ways, your body has to survive it. So here's the play-by-play. First, your liver turns alcohol into a really toxic compound called acetaldehyde. This stuff can directly get in the way of your DNA repair systems. It's like it sends your body's repair crews home for the night. And on top of that, it acts like a solvent, making the cells in your mouth and throat way more vulnerable to other carcinogens you might be exposed to. It's a double whammy.
Okay, so we've identified 5 big supply lines, right? We've talked about the sugar, the nitrates, the bad oils. So now for the fun part. How do we go on the attack and actually shut them down?
The most powerful weapon we have is a process called autophagy. And this is actually a Nobel Prize-winning idea that literally means self-eating. When you stop eating for a while, your body flips this amazing switch. It goes into cleanup mode, hunting down old, broken, and even precancerous cells and recycling them for fuel. It's your body's own internal janitor service. How cool is that?
So it all boils down to this clear 3-part strategy. First, just compress your eating window. By not eating for 12 to 16 hours a day, you can lower that insulin and turn on the cleanup crew. Simple. Second, make fiber a priority to slow down sugar absorption. And third, shift your main fuel source away from carbs and towards healthy fats, which your healthy cells love, but those inefficient cancer cells often struggle to use.
You know, this quote just nails the whole takeaway. It is so easy to feel like we're helpless against disease, like it's just some random lightning strike. But what the science is showing us is that we have incredible power. We really are the gardeners of our own bodies. We can't control every single thing, every seed that blows in, but we can absolutely control the soil. We can choose not to water the weeds.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Every single meal you eat is an opportunity. It is a signal. And you get to choose. Are you going to send a signal that promotes chaos and growth and inflammation, or are you going to send a signal for health and repair and stability? You get to make that choice, often 3 times a day. So, what signal will you send next?